Hey, welcome in. Well, big tech is at it again. Here we have the headline. BRET WEINSTEIN, self-described professor in exile, says he's been booted from Facebook. And this has been updated. It says underneath, a Facebook spokesperson has since claimed his account was mistakenly flagged by a system that identifies imposter accounts. There's a lot of this mistakenly flagged kind of stuff going around these days, isn't there? And it only ever goes one way. Now, BRET WEINSTEIN is an old school liberal. He's a real liberal. And it's not that long ago that left and liberal were kind of synonymous. They were kind of just used interchangeably. It's not like that anymore. If you're an old school liberal, you're not left. The left doesn't like you. If you care about freedom of expression and, individual rights, the left doesn't like you. They're not misguided liberals. I think that seems to be around a little bit. People think that they're like misguided liberals. They're not. They actually hate liberals. These are like Stalinists, okay? The left, you just think of like Joseph Stalin, okay? They're authoritarians, and they don't like liberals, real liberals, old school liberals. They hate them as much as they hate conservatives and just anybody who's not them. And BRET WEINSTEIN, he's an old school liberal. And also I can say I've met him, and I can tell you right now, he's a very, very nice guy. But anyway, what happened here? And it always seems to go one way, doesn't it? It always seems to go one way. Anybody who's not fully on board with the woke agenda, that's who it goes against. And it doesn't matter what they call themselves. They call themselves liberal or conservative, whatever. It doesn't really matter. If you're against the woke agenda, racializing literally everything. If you're for free speech, individual rights, capitalism, all those kinds of things. In my opinion, you might as well just drop the liberal label now. You might as well just call yourself a conservative, because those are the people who agree with you, even though you may differ on the other things. But the left, there's no room for compromise there. So it's just kind of confusing at this point, calling yourself a liberal, because people don't really even know what that word means anymore. But anyway, former biology professor BRET WEINSTEIN, who found himself chased away from Evergreen State University several years ago for resisting a social justice mob, says he's been booted from Facebook without an explanation or opportunity to appeal. It says in a Twitter post Thursday, WEINSTEIN, who describes himself as a professor in exile in his Twitter bio, said that he'd received a notice from Facebook informing him that his account had been disabled. A screenshot posted with his tweet said the company's decision was non-reversible. And just on the question here, and just on him being a professor in exile, I'll just show you quickly. These are the people who made him a professor in exile. These were the people that were apparently running Evergreen when he was run out of it. So, you see a lot of baseball bats there. Doesn't seem like a peaceful movement, does it? That tells you something, doesn't it? Maybe just a tad authoritarian. What do you think? Anyway, he said, quote, "I have been evicted from Facebook. No explanation, no appeal. I have downloaded my information and see nothing that explains it. We are governed now in private by entities that make their own rules and are answerable to no process. Disaster is inevitable. We are living it," tweeted WEINSTEIN. And one of those people who cheered when they got rid of InfoWars, those people who call themselves liberals, who cheered when they got rid of Alex Jones, well, a lot of people recognize that it wasn't going to stop with Alex Jones, was it? That was just the start. That was just trimming off the edges before they moved in. Not that it brings me any pleasure to say that, but it is true. Liz Bourgeois, a spokesperson for Facebook, later responded to him saying he, quote, "was mistakenly flagged by our system for identifying imposter accounts." So the system they have to identify imposter accounts. Anyway, it went on. "We've restored it and are sorry for the mistake." Was it a mistake, though? Was it a mistake? Did Facebook make a mistake there? I don't know. I mean, is it possible there was just some rogue, purple-haired gremlin working at Facebook who knows that she doesn't like liberals very much, and she's not conservative, and she's not far-right. She's a leftist, and she knows she doesn't like people who have rational ideas about the way that society should be run. She knows that, anybody who's one step to the right of Chairman Mao is one of the bad guys from Germany. Just going to interrupt for 1 second to say, if you like this content, subscribe so you can see more. Thanks a lot. And just suddenly decided to make the world a better place. That's what they all want to do, is make the world a better place, right? So I don't know, but it always seems to go in one direction, doesn't it? But anyway, in turn, Weinstein responded. My first indication of a problem was this message saying Facebook had already reviewed the suspension and the decision can't be reversed. So, that's quite a mistake, I would say, if they're calling it a mistake. My tweet about it clearly got your attention, but I have 400,000 Twitter followers. What protects regular people from such mistakes, Liz? Such mistakes. If indeed it is a mistake. Is it? Was it a mistake, Liz? Was it? And, Weinstein is an old school liberal. He supported Senator Bernie Sanders in the past. He's been critical of both Trump and Joe Biden. So you can't be critical of Joe Biden. That's a big no-no. He recently tried to mount a grassroots effort to recruit a high-profile Democrat and Republican candidate to run for the president on a joint unity ticket. This seems like old-school liberal ideas to me. But they're not leftist ideas. That's the thing. And again, liberal and leftist are not the same thing anymore. But I guess my point is that Weinstein's a smart guy. And while I may disagree with him on some things, probably many things, he's somebody that you could work with. Like, he's going to give you some reasonable, constructive ideas and is open to compromise because he's not an authoritarian. But anyway, let's find out what other people are saying on Twitter. There's Tulsi Gabbard. She says, this is insane. Yes, it is. It is, Tulsi. Here's Ben Dominic. This is vile. That's true. I agree with that. Elijah Schaefer. Then they came for Brett. And here we'll just recap why Brett came to national attention. It says he came to national attention back in 2017 when he refused to go along with the idea that white students and professors at Evergreen State College in Washington State should leave campus for a day for a so-called day of absence. So basically, because of this immutable feature of yourself, you're not allowed to go to campus for this day, which I think there's a word for that, and I think it starts with R. It's definitely not a liberal idea. It says, amid the subsequent outrage mob, Weinstein was told by the chief of campus police that officers had been told to stand down and could not protect him, as he previously outlined in an op-ed for the Wall Street Journal. Both he and his wife, Professor Heather Hying, resigned from the university later that year and received a $500,000 settlement from the university. So it's a guy, and I know that he loved teaching. He loved his job, but he was chased off and away from that career by crazy people, basically. And apparently a college administration that was totally craven and cowardly and, in fact, actually agreed with the SJWs. Anyway, that's all I got to say about that. Please subscribe, like, and share. That really helps me get around the algorithm. If you just like to listen, there's Radio Baloney, the podcast. It's on every platform, including Spreaker. Thank you very much. I will see you next time.